listening to Sonic Gardens Radio. Today is Sunday, April 12th, 2020. The day of the resurrection of our Lord Jesus Christ. It's a CHAKA performing cover of the song Way to Sound. Hope you enjoy.
Goes out to my girl tonight. Sing a song for you because the mood is right. It's 2:16 on a Saturday night. Fuck me. Girl, she is passed out, she's not feeling alright. 24 hours can be a long time to be lying dead from the previous night. Now stay I here, drink myself a beer. All night long I'll sing this song to you, call on me, yeah. Tomorrow will come and the sun will shine. I'll be sitting here right by your side. Let the music soothe your soul. Let the music take control. Everything you do or say comes back to you. Things don't work out right, you gotta push on. Keep on rocking, keep on moving, yeah. Every little thing's gonna be alright. Keep on smiling, keep on laughing, yeah. Every little thing's gonna be alright. Playing on your radio, coming through your stereo, and everybody's getting home. You can sing to Let It Go, running from a video. Can you feel the weight of sound in your eyes? You focus on the lights for the night. Just relax and let's get high. I said the sonnet is a signal. I'm thinking that it's time time to go and everybody's getting home. You can see me let it go, running from a video, haunted by the weight of sound. It's just love, there's nothing that's more real. This love, the way it makes you feel.
right, ladies and gentlemen, listening to Sonic Gardens Radio, and that was CHAKA performing the stick figure song "Weight of Sound" live here in the Sonic Garden studio, sometime in the last few months. We typically practice every Wednesday and Sunday night here at the studio, and we like to record everything we got, and after a while, I mean, there's like 15 straight hours of different recordings, so I just kind of sift through things and rough record them, get them in here so that we can broadcast some music here, show you guys what we're doing down here at Sonic Gardens, keeping it alive in the situation. So if anybody's out there listening, on this Easter Sunday, maybe you're having dinner with your family at home, and I'm just going to play you some music here from different CHAKA jams. Like I said, they're not final recordings or anything, but I think, as you just heard, some pretty good stuff here. So yeah, I'm sporting my shades today. I got my hair down, Here we are, Sonic Gardens Radio. Next tune I'm going to play for you is a song that you might all know. This one is a cover of the Grateful Dead song, "SCARLET Begonias." And you're listening to Sonic Gardens Radio.
Scarlet begonias tucked into her curls. I knew right away she was not like other girls, Well, I ain't never been right, as I ain't never been wrong. This heaven works out the way it does in this song. Shown in the light in the strangest of places if you look at it right. woman took the loving over me. Just to gain a trust, I bought a microbus because I sold off all my personal property. A tie-dye dress, she was a psychedelic mess. We tore through the north, south, east, and west. We sold some mushroom tea, we sold some ecstasy. We sold nitrous, opium, acid, heroin, and PCP. And now I hear the police coming after me. Yes, now I hear the police coming after me. The one Scarlet with the flowers in her hair, she's got the police coming after me. And there ain't nothing wrong with the way she moves. Our Scarlet begonias and a touch of the blues. And there ain't nothing wrong with the look that's in her eye. Had to learn the hard way just to let her pass by. Let her pass by. Just let her pass by.
back here. That was another nice jam here. Scarlet Begonias by CHAKA. Like I said, just a dedication to my friends out there, my bandmates, the guys that were, again, not able to get together here going on a month. This is the longest that we have not practiced and played together in quite a long time. In a couple of years, really. We've been pretty steady, which is how we're so tight. Yeah. You're listening to Sonic Gardens Radio. Just to keep this thing going, we figure I should probably give some updates, even though today is not a day. Just a sad day again. Everything's still climbing. There are bring up this thing here. We've got currently, so I'll give an update. 1,851,011 cases worldwide, and 114,098 deaths, and 422,566 people have recovered, leaving the active cases still at 1,314,347, and 96% of those people are in mild condition, and 4% of them are in serious or critical. And of the serious or critical, there is a closed cases that are 536,664 worldwide, and 21% of those people died, as 79% of the people recovered. We are still on a drastic climb as far as deaths. Our per million number has climbed to 67 deaths per million. And this is just a number that has consistently been climbing as the cases have grown. We said yesterday that the serious or critical cases are, reflecting as the number climbs, even though new deaths are taken off. It's really just a numbing situation, and it's hard to keep track of it and really think of anything on these cases when it comes down to the amount of deaths. Even when they do talk about, when these things are brought up about obesity, car crashes, heart disease, all these things, diabetes, other cancers. Just lost a great person the other day, way too young, and it's something that's just I've never really dealt with it very good myself. The whole idea of death and loss forever. But here we are on the U.S. cases. 27,000 new cases today, which is right in line with the numbers that have been, which means nothing is slowing down. It's kind of hovering, but that's kind of scary because it makes you think it's just going to jump again, and then we're going to be looking at even larger numbers. So far from over here, for sure. So so far today, but again, several hours left in the day to finish that off. Sitting at 30,000 as of yesterday. So yeah, like I said, it's got to be a hard drop. That's what we're looking for. And the deaths did decrease, and again, we want to see a hard drop. All right. So enough of the sadness there. Not really. Sadness continues. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to bring you guys another exclusive here, something you'll only find on Sonic Gardens Radio, and that is going to be another another CHAKA jam from the latest stuff that I've kind of imported. I'm gonna do a great song to just put out there. Question for all is, could you be loved? And you're listening to Sonic Gardens Radio, the Mang and Neads Show minus the Neads because he had to take care of some business, called Eating Dinner on Easter Sunday, which is a honorable thing to be doing, you know. So, without any further ado, you're listening to Sonic Gardens Radio. It's the Mang and Neads Show minus the Neads. You're about to hear an exclusive CHAKA version of Could You Be Loved. Here we go.
All right, and be loved. Don't let them fool ya. Oh, no, no. I said, oh, no. Or even try to school ya. Oh, no, no. I said, oh, no. We've got a mind of our own. Ooh, ooh, right. Will never leave us alone. Are in the darkness, it must come out alive. Hey, could you be loved and be loved? Could you be loved? All right, and be loved. The road of life is rocky, and you may struggle too. While you point your finger, someone else is judging you. Love your brother, man. Could you be loved? Could you be loved? Could you be loved? Could you be loved? Don't let them change ya. Oh, no, no. Or even rearrange ya. Oh, no, no. We've got a life to live. Ooh, 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 they say only the fittest of the fittest shall survive. Stay alive, hey, could you be loved and be loved? Could you be loved? All right, and be loved.
ladies and gentlemen, there was CHAKA performing the Bob Marley and the Wailers classic, Could You Be Loved? And that was CHAKA style for sure. Man, we got some jams. That's what I say. I just had a lot of fun. This last one I'm going to kick off with, close this show out, just to keep our maintaining our day straight. Day 28 here, Central New York quarantine. Trying to keep a light, show daily. Everybody can listen in, get together. I know there's some people watching this out there, so please like and subscribe. Trying to reach 1,000 subscribers here on our channel, and it'd be great if you could help. Mang and Neads Show will be back again tomorrow. We're looking to figure out some ways to get this Sonic's Corner back up, and hopefully, things will start to get better, and we can look at planning some future stuff, So, once again, last song here of the day. This is Jesse TRESSLER wrote this song, Stolen Car, man. And from the first time I ever heard it, I said, man, this song is so cool. And I'm just grateful to be a part of making it into the dramatic episode that it is. I got so many crazy ideas for making a music video to this, including some crazy footage. But yes sir. So right now, you guys are about to hear a rough version, but man, it is actually pretty freaking mint, and it's got a sweet ending. Extended version here. It's a 10-minute jam, but like everything we've been playing today, we dragged them out, and I think that we let them speak for themselves. So today was a day of reflection, and like I said, I'm missing these guys, and I hope everybody's having a good day, and hope you're enjoying this as a radio background for whatever you're doing, whether you're like working in the shop. Let me know what you do when you listen to this. Are you just like sitting down watching on your phone? The most ideal way to listen is really if you can hook it up to a good audio system, and then you're obviously going to get this really good quality audio from the music, of course, and my voice will sound better too. But if you are just watching on your phone, that's cool too. And whatever, let me know what's up, and we're gonna keep this going. We're looking to get 1,000 subscribers. Phone lines are down, so if anybody was trying, that wasn't working. I don't know what the hell the problem is. You have to get some service down here. Anybody knows anything about telephones? Just seems like there's some wires messed up, Anyway, yo, happy Sunday, happy Easter, happy Passover, whatever you fancy. And like I said, we'll see you tomorrow. Mang and Neads Show. We'll see you then. And you're listening to Sonic Gardens Radio. This song is Stolen Car by CHAKA.
know what I'm saying?